Only through the Holy Spirit will we be able to understand these things. There is a huge correlation between the education system and the satanic element that is working its way into our society. The opening doors are coming via education a lot of times, or the education shills that go out and are members of these satanic organizations that are springing up now. It's not just the Church of Satan anymore. Now it's the Satanic Temple, and they've been founded fairly recently, I think in 2015 for the Satanic Temple. They're going to keep branching out. And so one of the ways they're doing that, and they want to reach the youth. That's the hand that rocks the cradle, rules the world. Don't forget that. How they mold the next generation is via the school system. And they change our belief system that way, what we'll accept that way. They really are masters at influencing the generations and evolving their narrative and just weaving it into our lives without us ever knowing. So now this has come into my news feed about this organization from the Satanic Temple. And this billboard is to protect public school students who they are theorizing 110,000 children are legally hit at school each year, and some of them have to be hospitalized, although I've never heard any story, and they do not cite any particular child having been hospitalized. But that's the assertion they make. And when a student registers with this organization, they will notify their school board that harming that student would violate their civil rights. And let's talk for just a moment about the civil rights aspect. You'll see this again and again. This is a big, big, huge hammer. And there are a lot of lawyers who went to school and specialized in civil rights, not to help us have them, but to actually deny them in the way that they've come into our society, and all of these seemingly beneficial organizations, founding different agencies and nonprofits, and have come into what looks like something that's very beneficial, and behind the black curtain they're doing some very hideous things that are actually denying civil rights to us all. Civil rights, I think, was nothing but a very interestingly worded bunch of subversion that meant nothing at the time but sounded good. And it's still that way. Equality, justice, food justice, they come up with these terms all the time, mean nothing. They're abstract thoughts that aren't really playing out in our society. Are things getting more fair? Is there more justice for all of us in the world? It's just nothing but this linguistic brainwashing that sounds good. People need to become aware of the links between education, universities, sometimes professors. Sometimes they'll have these teachers that get out and infiltrate, other movements and start this stuff going. And a lot of it is emanating from the education shills. So to support their efforts, go to shopsatan.com. It's a big joke to them. They're putting these stories you'll find in the articles that I put in the dialogue box, and I will also link in as a pinned comment all of the articles that I just kind of touch on. There's too much material here, but everyone needs to begin reading and educating themselves to this aspect. It is coming into our schools. The Satanists have offered to give bicycles to disenfranchised children in poor neighborhoods. It seems this is the way, this is what kids will remember. This is the entry point, and it's being allowed, and it's, I think, being cultivated. This is just one of the first stops in the agenda that they're working. When I click on their link in this article to protectchildrenproject.com, up this pops. a quote, a very interesting yet meaningless quote from this W.H. Auden, who was a poet, an English poet, by the way, who married a German woman who basically did it just to get out of the Germany before the Holocaust happened. And so he moved to America, and you probably can figure out the story. He got with another male poet and died quite soon afterwards. He was, he was made miserable by this guy, this other male poet that he became lovers with. And so anyway, they're asking to encourage students to register and to donate and to make people spread the word, to make students aware that they can proactively make their beliefs known by registering at this site and tweet about it and tell parents and, just telling kids with cartoons, mind you. Okay. So they're targeting our kids. So if anybody cares about kids, don't listen to the school shills that are just asking for more money to make more, build more buildings through their construction companies for, they're getting these grant funds for education, and all they're doing is dumping money on parking structures and solar panels and building more buildings. It has nothing to do with helping the children learn or understand. That's not what they're trying to do in school. They're trying to control where our society is going with all of this very subtle influencing that they've been doing since the early 1900s, and people need to understand this stuff. You may have more in common with Satanists than you thought. Here's another interesting article where they're linking now themselves to, they're getting themselves equated with free speech. And now we've all had this experience with the dwindling rights of free speech. Anything you say truthfully is now being labeled as hate speech. And YouTube had a bunch of channels that were removed a few weeks ago because people were revealing the narrative that was really behind World War II and Hitler. And all of those channels were removed under this banner of hate speech, which really means the truth. And so they are conflating themselves, the Satanists, with this idea of, if you want free speech, align with us, because we're going to fight for that, because we do not worship Satan. We don't worship anybody. We are all about equality and justice and personal gain, and you should be able to believe whatever you want, and you shouldn't have the deity of God telling you what to do and all of this stuff. Notice who, read some of these articles and you'll see the theme of what I'm talking about here. Who did they get? A 26-year-old history teacher and a musician who was over music in heaven before he fell? Satan. So there's that, and I'm not saying all musicians are, but there's some lost musicians out there that seem to be ripe for the hijacking. That's what I've noticed too. People who are transgender are utilized quite effectively by Satan. If they have any sort of a sexual trauma in their past, or any sort of that sort of an injury to themselves, they are absolutely puppeted by Satan, and they don't even realize it. You got this LGBT transgender thing going on. These guys are coming to city council meetings now with wigs on, in drag, and standing there and crying and things like that. I mean, it's insane what Satan is doing to people. And there was a man who was a counselor in school, the school system, who counseled these kids with these gender issues. And he came out and said that almost every child that he'd ever spoken to about the details of their lives said their story began with some sort of a sexual encounter or almost molestation or some sort of a trauma early on. And they were then gay. Some of the kids had said that they believed that something came into them during that traumatic experience. And that would make a lot of sense why there's so much of that going on with little boys in the Catholic Church. Also, too, when you see these things with the 10 Commandments, people go, oh, well, that's great. One for us, one for our team. Well, actually, what that means is, again, they have their steps to where they want to go, and they have to lay the groundwork. So this was the first step. They got some puppet to put in the 10 Commandments statue, which paved the way for the Satanists to come and win the argument to also have the Baphomet statue installed. And so you'll notice that these people are used this way. There's all sorts of litigation and lawsuits where now also to Hollywood is being sued for $50 million for using the Baphomet statue illegally. And there will be some, they get some puppet attorneys. They figure out what the story is going to be up front. And then they can legally shift 25 million from there to here. And there's a lot of these kind of bogus lawsuits that they get with these puppet people too. And it's legal, and they move money that way, big sums of money that way. So it's a big joke to these people. This is about Penny Lane, who has done this woman here. Look at the Betty Page bangs. Now, this is a woman, guys, that will take you straight to hell right here. A little slender Eve with all of her liberal ideas and all of her satanic articles that she's been instructed to write, and that's her career. And she looks good on the surface. And that lady is, at this point, on the wide road. So anyways, it seems like it's a big, her documentary about Hail Satan. And some of her articles, the focus has been in the past, it's a subversive type of a person who is part of journalism and writes these trumped up, ridiculous articles. Sometimes they're book shills that write books and leave out the most telling, interesting facts, the most real facts. They churn the narrative this way. They write what they want to. I would say that this looks very much like a guy in a hat. You see all of this tattooing and piercing and cussing and smoking and marijuana use, just, exit stage left. I mean, they aren't misunderstood. I understand quite well what these people are about now. Before, I used to accept anything, and you can't get me away from them fast enough now. Notice this cultivation of children, the Satanic Children's Big Book of Activities. I will leave all of these links in this video below. Again, student reaches out to Satanic Temple for post-game prayer. This one was interesting. The Baphomet statue, it could have just been this hideous statue on its own. Why did there have to be two little children looking up at this thing? The little girl is smiling. It's so offensive to me. I can't even say how offensive that is. Also, to note the two fingers pointing up. This is a Masonic hand sign. And have you noticed some of the contrived Jesus pictures will have him doing this with the long blonde hair and the blue eyes, where it says clearly in the Bible that men are not supposed to have long hair. So they conflate a whole bunch of things with the images of Jesus Christ as well. This one was interesting to me too. When I was looking up the Baphomet statue, they're installing these things in Arkansas and Oklahoma. A lot of the southern states are completely corrupted, and they have some of the richest politicians in the world there coming from these. It's like the Bible Belt also has some of the most corrupt legislators, unfortunately. But anyway, they've removed the caduceus from the abdomen of this, and yet the article is on decoding the symbols. So when I clicked on that, here in the article itself, the caduceus is back. What do we affiliate that with? What is this image affiliated with? It's affiliated with the medical establishment. I'm trying to make some links for people so they will understand the systemic thread that runs through every system that they have put in place. Medicine is a huge hammer that they use against us. All these vaccines are coming through the schools. All of these hoax events, these shooting events come through schools, parks, government buildings. Notice where it's coming from. See it. Ask God to show you. Ask him to understand these things. So it's very disturbing to me that they are cultivating our youth in this way. I do not have children, but if I did, let me tell you, I would be resisting this mightily, and also vaccines that the schools system is pushing to inoculate our children into absolute retardation or not being able to function in their minds enough to figure it out and take this stuff on. People need to wake up. This is the beast system coming in, and it's coming in fast, and it's coming in hard into our society. It's already a global one world government. It already is. This is a communist country, and it just has been done in such a brilliant way that it looks like a democracy. They've used all the bright buzzwords. They laid down the Constitution in such a way that it seems as though there's rights for all. And when back in 2016, I put in Satanists and parks, because my question to Christ was, it started off this whole odyssey for me in 2013 of awakening into the horror and glory of the truth, was show me, God, show me what's behind the parks. Because I thought I could actually do something about it, the political corruption in my town, which you can't do anything about this stuff. And I put in Satan and parks, and up popped this article at the time. And it was an event where, it was going to be $66.60 to go to. It was a black mass in Los Angeles, and it's fun stuff. They have outreach, and they reach the public through park cleanups. So there's the link there. So the Lord has taught me a lot of things via these sorts of stories. I just keep getting a bigger and bigger picture, bigger chunks of it all the time. I encourage you all to look in your local area. It's not just in Los Angeles. You go, it's just there. No, it's not. It's wherever you're at. And I don't care whatever small town you're in. Do a Google search of the Satanic Temple in your town, or the Masonic Temple in your town. And I'm telling you, I guarantee it, you have one. And note who the people are. Check who's on their board. Notice who they are. A lot of these people, these Satanists and these Masonic people, are sitting on city councils. They have silent partnerships in the companies that are getting the city contracts. Understand, it's political corruption that goes all the way to the White House and beyond. These people are just puppets of the upper guys and the upper echelons of the world that we never even know who they are. They create wealth in people and then require those people spend that money on donations to bad churches, apostate churches. Maybe the people think that it's really a real church. I don't know. They have to distribute that money back out, though. When Satan gives you wealth, there's requirements and strings that come with it. When God gives you something, there aren't any strings. He gives it freely. And so that's what these people don't seem to understand, any of them. And you can't get through to them either. And that's what's alarming as well. I wish I could reach some of them. I wish I could tell them, but they seem to be hardened over and sealed. And they've sealed themselves with their own disbelief, unbelief, and they've allowed themselves to be corrupted this way. They were willing participants, and they'll have to stand and answer to these things. That's all I can say. Right now, some days it's frustrating to know more of these things, and you can't go anywhere with it because every single reporting agency that's a governmental body has been corrupted. So what they do is they just start a file on you. And they just add to that file. And so it's nothing that we can fight in this world. I asked the Lord the other day, Jesus, can we never have justice here? Why can't we have justice? And then I went out into the yard and started digging around in the earth out there, and there was a very loud thought that came fairly quickly that said, because I want to give it. And so he wants to be the one who gives us the justice in the end and doles it out. What would it be coming from some morally corrupted judge sitting somewhere doing backdoor deals anyway. See? So everything has been corrupted, and the only thing that we can do is to work on our relationship with God. And he shows us these things in a variety of ways. But all I know is I'm glad that I never joined them. I was always set apart, and there are many of you that are too. We were never part of the world. We never joined the group. We never had friends. And the reason why I didn't was because I didn't have a common link. I can have a friend, and that common link will be Jesus Christ. Those are the only friends I'll ever have in this world, and I won't have many. So there's a lot of fake Christians and a lot of people that think they are Christians and they aren't. A lot of people who are saying that they're Christians making weird, bizarre political prophecies using the banner of Christianity on YouTube, and then talking about, well, it's the year of the dragon, and then we're going into the year of the rat, and Trump isn't going to be, whenever they start that stuff, run for the hills, click off. They're not a real Christian. And a lot of people think that they are, and they aren't. They don't read their Bible, and it becomes very apparent very quickly listening to them if they read their Bible or not, because they just end up saying things that are not scripturally correct. You can tell they're not even reading their Bible. And so at a certain point, he just gives us whatever it is to be able to identify each other. I have his eyes, I have his heart, and so do some of you. Look for these things and begin to ask. And this is how it's coming. So this is how the beast system is coming right at our kids. We need to understand it and keep them safe from these things. Keep them away from it. Do not volunteer. Okay. Have a blessed day in the Lord. Read your Bible. Read your Bible every day. It's a reset button. God bless.